Hi, I'm Gail Bannock, Director of Public Education and Communication at the Upstate New York Poison Control Center. Today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about preventing carbon monoxide in your home. Today I'd like to focus on 4 things for you to remember: the dangers of carbon monoxide poisoning, possible sources of carbon monoxide, steps to take to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning, and most importantly, action steps if CO poisoning is suspected in your home. Let me ask you a question. How many of you have one or more of the following items in your home? Fireplace, wood, oil, gas, or some other type of burning stove, a generator for emergency purposes. In this part of the country, most of us have a furnace to heat our homes. How about a water heater or space heater? And how many of you have a clothes dryer? If you've said yes to any one of these, then I want you to be sure that you listen carefully to see how you can best prevent carbon monoxide poisoning in your home. Because if you did say yes, it is possible that carbon monoxide could be leaking into your home from any one of the sources we just mentioned, or others as well. Carbon monoxide is also referred to as CO. It's a gas that you can't see, you can't smell, and you can't taste. So that's why it's very important for you to listen carefully. Because if you can't see, smell, or taste it, how do you know it's present? Unfortunately, CO poisoning sends about 20,000 children to the emergency department every year. Sadly, CO can kill. The most important thing is that CO poisoning can be prevented. So let's go back to those sources of carbon monoxide. A fuel-burning stove, whether it's burning oil, gasoline, kerosene, whatever it's burning, can produce carbon monoxide. Additionally, a generator that's running, and especially if it's placed too close to a house, can produce carbon monoxide. It's always recommended that a generator be kept at least 20 feet away from any building to reduce the chances of carbon monoxide leaking into your home. Chimneys that are clogged or not well vented can also be a source of CO poisoning. Additionally, a car left running in a garage, especially if it's attached to a house, can emit CO fumes that can enter the home. Water heaters, space heaters, clothes dryers, all can be sources of CO. So by now you're probably saying, what can I do to prevent CO poisoning? One suggestion would be to have your furnace inspected every year to make sure it's working properly and that the ducts are not clogged. This might mean calling in a professional to perform the check. And while it might cost you a few dollars, your family's safety is worth it. Let's look at a couple of pictures. I'm sure by now you know that the picture on the left is an air duct from a clothes dryer with quite a bit of lint buildup. Make sure that you check not only the filter, but also the air duct to guarantee proper ventilation. The picture on the right may call for a professional. That's buildup from a chimney. But remember, your family's health is worth it. I'm sure many of you know that a car left running inside a garage, especially if that garage is attached to a house, will oftentimes leak carbon monoxide into the home. So what you need to remember here is, first of all, always make sure garage doors are up when you start your car, and secondly, that the door to the home is closed to reduce the amount of carbon monoxide emissions into the home. Another source of carbon monoxide poisoning could be from a generator. Make sure if you're using a generator during a power outage that you place it at least 20 feet away from your home and always outside to reduce the chances of CO emissions leaking into your home. So in comparing a generator to the exhaust from a car, a generator produces 100 times more gas than the car's exhaust. So you can see how very dangerous running generators can be. Again, we stress making sure you keep those generators at least 20 feet from the house. Moving inside the house, perhaps this is something you don't know. It's important not to use an oven as a heater, as CO fumes can build up in the home. I know sometimes when it gets cold, people are tempted to turn on the stove or the oven to keep warm, but unfortunately it can result in CO fume buildup and unfortunately carbon monoxide poisoning. So what are the signs and symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning? Well, it makes sense that the more CO you have in your system, the more severe the symptoms, right? So you may start out with headaches, nausea, dizziness. You might even move into shortness of breath, or eventually you may collapse or lose consciousness. Sometimes people complain of headaches and nausea, and then they leave their homes and start feeling better. And when they return, they start getting headaches and nausea again, or dizziness. And sometimes that's how they figure out that they have a carbon monoxide leak. So now that you know the symptoms, be more aware and make sure all of your equipment in your home is working properly to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Lots of times people say, okay, so how much? So I included this slide for you to see that if you have 10% makeup of CO in your blood, you probably won't see any symptoms. But you move to 10 to 20%, you have a slight headache. Then if you have a 20 to 30%, that headache increases and you have an increase in respirations and you're a little bit drowsy. We move up the ladder and you have 30 to 40%, and you may be getting headaches with impaired judgment, shortness of breath, increased drowsiness, and now you may even have blurred vision. When we get to 40 to 50% CO in the blood, you're going to have a pounding headache and confusion, marked shortness of breath, drowsiness, and increased blurred vision. When you get past 50%, the person will be unconscious and eventually will result in death if the person is not removed from the source of CO. And as we well know, that oftentimes does happen, unfortunately, in the case of fires, because people do not realize that there is a carbon monoxide effect going on and they sleep through it. Don't let that happen in your home. So when you're ready to install that carbon monoxide detector in your home, make sure that you read and follow all label directions from the manufacturer and read those warnings as well, especially on where to place the detector on the wall of your home. Putting it in a living space or in a bedroom is the best placement, not in a basement. Also, be sure to place it at least 20 feet from any fuel-burning device to be sure it's reading accurately. And most importantly, change those batteries every 6 months. So what do you do if the detector sounds? The most important thing is to first move everybody out. Make sure that everyone gets out into the fresh air. If there is anyone that's unconscious or seizing, call 911 immediately. But if everybody's okay and there are no symptoms, then you can call poison control at 1-800-222-1222 if you're looking for more information. So in review, if you remember the beginning of the presentation, we talked about 4 things we hoped that you'd learn through this presentation, and I hope you remember all 4 of them. The dangers of carbon monoxide poisoning, some of the possible sources of CO poisoning in your home, most importantly, steps to take to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning from happening, and also action steps to take if CO poisoning is suspected in your home. So this is Gail Bannock at the Upstate New York Poison Control Center. Thanks for listening today. I hope you've learned all the steps you need to prevent a carbon monoxide poisoning from happening in your home. Remember, in a poison emergency or for poison prevention information, call the Poison Control Center. We're only a phone call away.